This is not a story I often tell. I don't really ever talk about my eating disorder, I don't think, very infrequently. But it was, I've learned now that it was a result of the trauma, that many, many women who are traumatized the way that I was. And in fact, a study was done at Ohio State University a few years ago that even showed, even without all the physical trauma that I endured, that 80% of women whose significant others have a pornography addiction suffer from some type of eating disorder. I developed my eating disorder, I can't remember the age now, probably around 36. And it started, I thought, just that I had gained a lot of weight from the psych meds they had put me on. And the doctors were saying it was, causing diabetes and all this, and I needed to lose weight. So it started as like, okay, I need to diet. But as I began to diet and I began to lose weight, I realized, oh, this is something I can really control. I can control what I put in my mouth. I can't control anything else he's doing to me, but I can control this. And as I began to lose weight and see the results of that, it got very, very distorted, very, very distorted, very, very quickly. And then it became, as I began to be underweight and then experience physical symptoms from restricting so much, it became, as my therapist noticed and brought to my attention, that it was a way to passively kill myself. Where I had had suicidal ideation for years. This, she said, was just a new way to do it. And I realized that I was going to bed every night asking God, like, maybe I ate so little today that my heart will just stop while I'm sleeping. Like, I began to see it as if my heart just stopped while I was sleeping because I hadn't eaten enough, then he was deciding to take my life. I wasn't taking my life. And so this was all the distortion, which of course, when you're undernourished, your brain functions even less well than it was already from all the depression and abuse. So I know now I know this was all distorted thinking, but that's where I was. And then it also became a way that I thought would stop the abuse, because he started telling me how unattractive I was becoming because I was skin and bones. So this went on for several years, and I got forced into treatment, and I would get better and then worse, better and worse, and, relapses. But it was in 2019, it was Ash Wednesday. I had gone to confession after Mass and told Father that I realized that I had started fasting and it was turning into restricting. And I told him I did not want to go back there. I could not go back to an eating disorder. I had confessed so many times my eating disorder and how I tried to harm myself and kill myself through my eating disorder, and how sorry I was and how could I have done that. And he had told me the same thing someone mentioned, Joe, I think, that it was becoming prideful to believe that he had not forgiven me, that I needed to stop feeling that guilt, that he had freed me from that, and I needed to stop confessing it. So after I went to confession, I stayed in the church for a long time, and I knelt right up in the first pew and looking up at that crucifix. And, the crucifix in our church, if you really look, you can really see all his bones. So as I knelt there praying, I started really looking at Jesus on the cross. And I started asking him, why are you skin and bones? Like, what has happened to you? Why are you starving? Like, I could see my starved self, I think, what I had used to look like in him on the cross. And he started telling me that it was because I wasn't feeding him. And I said, what do you mean I'm not feeding you? I feed my kids all the time. I said, how can I feed you? How can I feed you? I don't want you to starve, Jesus. And he said so clearly to me, feed yourself. And he said the scripture where he says to them that we will be separated. And he said, the sheep from the goats. And he says that, the sheep, when you saw me, you fed me and you clothed me and you gave me to drink. But he said to me, when you see me, you don't feed me. When you see me thirsty, you're not giving me to drink. And I said, but when is that? I see you and I'm always feeding people. And he said, no, I am in you. I am in you. When you don't feed you, I starve. And it changed everything again. Like, I don't know how many times I can say he changed everything, but he did again. He did again. And it just became not in one moment, you know, but this is where my prayer was probably for a couple months. And one day, even as I was in the church again, praying about all of this, and he was just healing the wounds of the eating disorder and showing me the reasons for the eating disorder and how he knew where it came from. He knew why I had tried to starve myself. He knew all along. He revealed things in my heart that I hadn't known were my motivations. And the one day he gave me this beautiful image of him lifting me up when I was skin and bones, and lifting me up. And I saw the look on his face where I would have thought it would have been one of disappointment, one of being angry with me for what I had become. And there was nothing but absolute compassion and kindness, and just holding me skin and bones and just loving me back into health. And it just made that idea that we talk about all the time so much more than just an idea, that he lives in each one of us. And he wants us to not only see him in the faces and the needs of others, but first in ourselves, that we have to take care of ourselves and take care of Jesus in us, or we won't have the fullness of him to offer to those others. It's not just an idea. It's real. It's real. He is truth, and he only speaks truth, and he means it when he says he lives in you. And it changed everything. It made me think about everything that I do, everything that I think, everything I put into my mouth, like just everything, that whatever I am doing to me, I am doing to Jesus. Everything I allow to be done to me, I am allowing to be done to Jesus. Like when we talk about the need for healthy boundaries, like it changed all of that. His message to me was that he's in me fully, especially through the Eucharist, that we become one flesh and one spirit with him. And that he took on human flesh to show us how important the body is. Like if the body wasn't important, he wouldn't have needed to take on a body to come and save us. But he chose that way to show us just how important we are to him, mind, heart, body, and soul. All of us matters. Every part of us. We're one person. To be whole, we need all those parts to be a person. My therapist used to tell me that I was making it very clear. She saw my eating disorder as like a neon sign. Like I was trying to make visible with my body how much he was hurting me, how much I couldn't take living this way anymore, that I would rather starve myself to death than continue the way we were going. And that's one of the reasons why, my therapist, two of them, once I was really committed to the divorce, told me that they had been so terrified that because I was Catholic, that I would never entertain the idea of divorce, and that I was going to die in that marriage. My eating disorder therapist actually cried when I told her that I had decided to file for divorce, and said she was so thankful because she just saw me dying. Like it had become visible on my body that I was dead inside and dying. And so that's, I am black but lovely, daughters of Jerusalem. But he always saw beauty on the inside, that's how he sees us.